Honorable Minister for Finance and Corporate Affairs, Srimati Nirmala Sitharamanji, Honorable Minister for Railways and Telecom, Information Technology, Shri Ashwini Vaishnavji, the Vice Chairman of the Planning of the Niti Aayog, Shri Suman Beriji, my colleague, Secretary, Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, Shri Anurag Jainji, my colleague, Special Secretary, Logistics, Shri Amritlal Minaji, all the distinguished Chief Ministers who have joined us online, all the distinguished ministers who have joined us physically here and many have joined us online, officials from the central and state government, friends, truly delighted to be a part of this engagement where we are discussing the progress made on the various NICDC projects and the way forward. This will ultimately be a defining moment for India as we move towards an Atmanirbhar Bharat, where we are looking at industrialization as a stimulant for economic growth, job creation or work opportunities being created for all levels of workmen, skilled and semi-skilled or unskilled, executives, management and other professionals. And my own sense is that this effort of NICDC will have a domino effect on the development of a nation as a whole. If India has to progress, I think India will have to progress in remoter parts of the country, not just in the cities. We'll have to see some significant progress in aspirational districts. We'll have to see the eastern parts of India demonstrating faster growth and progress. And therefore, I think the NICDC projects, the 32 nodes coming up quickly will certainly help the nation. Many honorable chief ministers and ministers spoke of other areas, newer areas to include in NICDC or what's happening on the bulk drugs park or textile parks. I think at the moment we should focus all our energies to make these 32 parks a grand success. In fact, I am getting an idea that if any state has done very good work in these projects, they should also be given a recognition when we are deciding the textile park or bulk drug parks or medical devices parks. So I think I'll have an assessment of that also done to dovetail the development of progress on these parks while finalizing the parks by the Pharma Ministry or by the Textile Ministry. Because I think demonstration of your intent and the speed with which you work on these projects will give us the confidence that if more parks are allotted to you, they will also be taken up with earnestness and sincerity. I've been going around the country holding investor conferences to try and attract business towards the NICDC projects and nodes. We already have 4 up and running. I have a few suggestions for all the states, for all the projects that have already come up or that are coming up. We must look at attracting investors quickly. Just setting up an industrial park with modern plug-and-play infrastructure, 24/7 power, common effluent treatment facilities, multimodal connectivity, single window clearance, integrated city planning, good labor laws, all of this is great. Some of the feedback we saw from the stakeholders who have already invested there was very, very exciting. But ultimately, we need to get all these lands taken up by industry or other sectors, projects to come up, jobs to be created, investment to happen, because that truly is the success of this whole project. And therefore, I would urge all the states and officials involved in this to see how quickly we can have roadshows, both by the central team and at the state level also. encouraging industry to invest faster and much more, and make sure that the lands get allotted quickly. Of course, please make sure that people don't squat on the land. Assess their requirements, assess the jobs that will be created by use of the land, monitor that, and possibly keep a clause that if the land is not put to good use, at least with milestones along the way in the next maybe 2 or 3 phases that one can hold on land to. We should not allow anybody to squat on large pieces of land. Secondly, we must try to keep the pricing reasonable and look at newer ways of giving out land. There could be lease model, there could be payment options, there could be longer payment terms, either at no interest or at reasonable cost of interest, maybe linked to the G-Secs or government borrowing rate, so that end of the day we make land affordable, reasonably priced, and attract more investment to the country. I have a very good example in Madhya Pradesh, where they are giving land to attract the IT industry at only 80,000 rupees per acre per year as lease rent. Now, 80,000 rupees per year for an acre of land is almost like giving away the land for free. But knowing the attraction of low-cost land, and that is how people in other countries have attracted industry, I think it's a brilliant move, and maybe the NICDC teams along with the state should also assess innovative ways to attract particularly specific sectors for which affordable land will be very important. Electricity rate is another area which investors look at very seriously. The other day somebody was saying they were looking at an investment in a particular state till they found that everything else was great, but electricity is 7 rupees a unit for industry. And they dropped the plans. It's one of the states who's represented here. Now, I think if all the states recognize that while we need to cross-subsidize, there is the imperative of low-cost electricity for farmers and the poor people, the states will have to look at subsidizing that from their budgets. The cross-subsidy model has gone beyond reasonableness, and such high rates of electricity will be a deterrent to industry coming to your states. If we find that the existing parks are not being put to use, then I promise you no new parks will come in your area. At least government will not support you. So it's a very clear-cut wake-up call for all the states that industry needs power at affordable prices. They also want to see consistency. They want the state to declare, okay, our power cost for industry today is so much, and over the next 10, 15, 20 years, while the regulator will fix it, but at no point we will allow it to go beyond, say, X% increase in 3 years or Y% increase over 5 years. Some such broad assurance will help attract industry to you. Certainly in the textile park, since many of you have raised that issue, we will only give it to those states who give us an assurance of affordability of power, affordability of land, the labor laws being implemented in your state to the fullest, and also looking at the state promotion schemes or state incentive schemes that you will be coming up with. So without taking too much time, I think the broad and important points I've tried to make, but I would agree with both the earlier speakers, Sumanji, who spoke about this being a very good example of cooperative and competitive federalism, both actually. It's collaboration, it's cooperation, but also in a sense, competition among states to attract investment. I agree with Ashwini ji that both the central government's departments, different departments, and the states have to work collectively so that other areas of the logistics chain or other utilities like internet connectivity, broadband connectivity can be pushed faster, particularly in these industrial areas. I compliment the states who have made good progress. I urge other states who yet have to demonstrate significant steps to speed up their efforts, and let us all work together to give the best plug-and-play infrastructure to the investors coming up in the future. One small point before I conclude, I would urge the states to also look at setting up labor facilities for their stay, whether it's their canteen, whether it's their stay or dormitory accommodation near these industrial parks, possibly with state support, or promoting it along with the state and other private sector, so that slums don't come up along the periphery or nearby areas of these industrial parks. That's something which then leads to a lot of social problems and is ultimately not good for industry also. So I would urge all the states, either in partnership with the local industry or with other developers, to devise schemes so that good, affordable labor dormitory accommodation, canteens and all can also come up, and we can save the industrial areas from a future deterioration due to literally slums coming up and creating a social unrest in the area. Thank you very much, Honorable Finance Minister, for your very valuable time and patience to go through all the states. We are very well represented with 6 state chief ministers and 7 ministers, 3 of whom have joined us in this meeting today. Big thank you to Ashwini ji, Suman ji, all the ministers, all the chief ministers and ministers who have joined us virtually, and to all the officials also. Thank you very much, Chair.